What are you guys sectioning each other off down there? You're just enemy camps? No? I really thank you for being here. First of all, I came here last night and I go to get a badge. They bring me over here. I was like, who? What? You know, there wasn't a badge, no credentials, no nothing. And so somehow we weaseled in. You know, I think I went up on the roof and dropped down through a skylight. And no, they didn't have that. And then somebody stole a sign on the autograph booth. They wanted my name. Somebody stole it, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You know, it's like, oh yeah. It cracked me up. It never would have occurred to me to swipe a sign. I guess maybe if it was Jeff Beck or, you know, Brian Wilson or something, I would, but my heroes are scattered all over the place. You know, voice people that I really loved had a big influence. There was like all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. There was, of course, those Warner Brothers, the Looney Tunes. And I actually got to meet Mel Blanc a long time ago. It was at this little wooden hall in Worcester, Massachusetts, and my friend just happened to see it in the corner of the paper. It says, Mel Blanc is going to be at this college signing autographs and doing a voice and slideshow. And I was like, how come, you know, it was like, it's going to happen in 2 hours. So we had to like get a car somewhere and go out there. And there he was, you know, and I watched this whole beautiful presentation and I was in awe. I could barely breathe. My breathing was staggered because I just was so blown away by everything that he did. And so at the end he says, if there's if anybody wants an autograph, start a line over here. And I got up and I was body slamming little kids. I was checking them like a hockey player. And I felt so embarrassed because I came up with like, you know, and he goes, could you let the little kids go first? I was like, oh, one of my heroes just, you know, shredded me. But that's okay. You know, he autographed a thing for me. You know, I lost it because I was on drugs and I was drinking those days. I was a musician, so it went part and parcel to that kind of stuff. You know, I played music for years and I played guitar and sang and, you know, and eventually, like when my life straightened out, it was about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago that I got to play with one of my heroes, which was Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. He was doing a movie, actually Don Was, the producer, was doing a film called I Wasn't Made for These Times. And it's a really sad song. It's like a kill yourself song if you feel disenfranchised. You know, I mean, but I used to have to listen to it so I couldn't feel anything at a certain point because I didn't realize that I had chronic low-level depression. So I used to listen to things that used to rip me up because I could know at least what it was to feel something. You know what I mean? Even if it was dark or, because it made me feel like at least I'm alive, that I'm being moved by it. And it's on YouTube, you can find it. It's a beautiful song, but it's just like, there's something so sad about it. But, you know, he was writing from the same point of view. He was depressed and he had all kinds of problems. But, you know, I got to play with him. My friend produced his first solo album, and then one day he calls me up and he goes, Billy, you want to play with Brian? And I go, yeah. You know, and next thing you know, I'm playing on stage with Brian Wilson, and I was like, Elliot Easton from The Cars was the other guitar player, and we knew each other. We were already friends because we lived in Boston. And we're looking at each other like, whose dream is this? Who do you pinch, you know? And I get that to this very day, like when I work with the people that I work with, the voice actors. They're so awesome. You know, it's like I go to school every time I show up for work. And there's nobody that can just say, I know, I literally walk into a room full of genius talent every day. And it's so inspiring. You know, it's not like I'm the king and avert your eyes, you know, when I walk in the room. Kiss this ring. Genuflect, Junior. You know, I just hate all that crap. But I'm so appreciative of people that are really, really good. They make so many people happy. And I think it's probably the most noble work that you could do, is like when people wake up and they can't even get out of the shower because they feel so bad. that they'll tell you that one of your shows got them through like their late teens and early adulthood, and I was like, I know exactly what you're saying, you know? And there's so many people I found out that had things like OCD and depression. You know, it's just like, there's a lot of people that you just think that that's you. You have no idea that you're living through stone blocks and trying to smash through walls just to live life. And you just look around and you see everybody else able to live life somehow, and you think, well, I must be a pussy, you know, because I can't deal with life on life's terms. And it's not that at all. It's just you have no idea what a normal life feels like. So there's my commercial for the pharmaceutical industry. I take prescription drugs for the side effects, you know. No, but they really help me a lot. And, you know, it's just like I love telling people that, because I know there's people that are sitting there that don't know what the hell is going on, why they can't be happy no matter what it is they do. And I just thought, what a horrible thing. It's like I was given a lot of gifts, you know? I should be happy, and I'd be like, just ready to, like I came in here and I said, I'm running away from home again. Which I did, but you know, it's a million years ago, turn left. But I did want to mention to everybody, thank you, first of all, for bringing the show back. You know, it's like you guys brought that show back when Fox, you know, yeah, thank you, really, thank you. That was, it got through, you know, it was like, I couldn't believe it, the internet is like muscle. If enough people get together, it's like, it's clobbering time to whoever gets in the way. And, you know, I was so appreciative, and I wanted to thank everybody, no matter where I wound up, you know, whatever convention or whatever. The show is going to be back on in July. There's a whole new season coming up for Futurama, which I happen to be a part of because I can do this guy Fry's voice.
Hello, Dr. Zoidberg. You looking for a player for your cartoon? Why not Zoidberg?
Cancellation. Brilliant move or stupid idea? But I don't know what's going on after that. You know, nobody will tell me anything. So you might have to get the computer fired up again and start lobbying like crazy people. You know, and then I'll thank you again when I come around. I've been really lucky. I was a freak when I was a kid, you know. I mean, all I did was like Tourette out voices and noises, and everybody's like, can you not do that? And I said, no, I can't help it, you know. I want to sound like a leaky radiator. I really do. I have to. I don't know why. And it was that kind of thing, and I was suppressed, you know, because you weren't allowed to do anything. I grew up in the 50s, and it was just this do nothing, be nothing world where you had to do what you were told. It was all authoritarian, and you couldn't have critical thinking. You know, you couldn't have critical thinking about people who ran for office or why you went to church. You know, it was like you try to figure out anything, and they just cut your head off. But I really was like that, and I found my way to doing artwork, which was just one way to express myself. You know, everybody here is dying to express themselves. And luckily, or hopefully, you'll get into a situation where you're called upon to do what you were meant to do. And I had to be close to something that was creative, so I started drawing stuff that I saw on TV, and then I started learning to play music. We had a guitar in my house in 1961. I remember it was in the cellar, and it was all junky and detuned and rusted out. But I sat there and I tried to make noises with it. And I finally learned how to play, and in 1966 I had my first band. I supported myself, actually. You know, playing and singing on the road. I played every stupid bar room, you know. And now it's time for the strippers. You know, you had to clear all your stuff out, and they'd play. The stripper would go, "You guys know Caravan?" I was like, "What?" You know, I happen to know because I went to Berkeley School of Music. You know, it was Dizzy Gillespie playing, like, Duke Ellington, maybe, I forget. But that was her song. That's what women used to do before there was like strip clubs where they do pole dancing and all that. No, you have to play either Night Train for a half an hour or Caravan. And they were so classy, these places, you know, because this little gangster would come out and go, "All right, you bums, put them together for Cassandra." You know, and I'd be like, and I start playing. I play for strippers. I haven't thought of that in so long. I don't know why I'm pouring this out to you, but I haven't thought of it in a million years. And there were all these clubs up Route 1 in Saugus where I grew up, and you know, they were kind of bars that you really like could get into big trouble in if you just looked at somebody the wrong way. And I guess, you know, we were acceptable because we were musicians, but all the strippers were like, you know, put your hands together for divorce a lot. You know, just weird names they gave themselves. That's a beautiful name you gave yourself. And, but that was, you know, that was great. I got so much experience, but I started doing screwy voices and noises on stage because if you broke a string or something like that, you couldn't sit there and search for the package where there might be an extra string. People would be standing there looking at you. And so I'd take a microphone and I would start just doing stuff, you know, voices and, you know, and I get the feeling they liked that better than they liked the music at one point because they were like, all of a sudden it would be interesting to them. And all the stuff that I was doing back then, I wound up to do for real. Like, you know, everybody could do Bugs Bunny, all my buddies, we all sucked at it, but, you know, and then one day somebody gets good at it, and then a day comes where they're asking you to do it. And I did it for Space Jam. I did Bugs Bunny for about 10 years and Elmer Fudd, you know.
And I got to work with Michael Jordan, Doc. The closest thing to a religious figure that we have.
I met him, you know, he was like 7 people away, and his manager said, Michael, and everybody's saying his name every 3 seconds, you know, because he's everywhere he goes. And he said, Michael, this is Billy West. He did Bugs in the movie, and he goes, hey, Billy. And he reaches over like 7 people. And he shakes my hand. And his hand, one hand was like this. You know, it was very cool to see a guy who just performed magic right in front of people's eyes. But, you know, somebody told me, well, what do you think you do? And I just never put myself in those leagues. But like I said before, it makes people happy, just like the stuff that I thought was so cool made me happy. But it was a desperation years ago because you couldn't capture anything. You couldn't have it or save it or hold it in your hand. In the 60s, it was like you're just watching the coolest thing you ever saw in your life on television. It's about to go away in 7 minutes and you're never, ever going to see it again. You know, it's so easy now, you can just tape everything or DVD it, you know, but we used to sit there and suck every little pixel, every, you know, proton out of the TV set to try to align ourselves with that. All the people, creative people I knew did that. But that's how you get, that's how you get talented people, is they felt a desperation, like they wanted to be part of it so bad. I didn't get into any of this to be famous or, you know, it's like celebrity in a way doesn't make sense to me because my heroes were artists. You know what I mean? They weren't celebrities. And now celebrities are being celebrated for doing their own voices in movies and stuff. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding. You know, so I had a lot to say about it. They pay them $20 million to come down from Mount Olympus, you know, just say a couple of things. Where's my $20 million? I'm not kidding. You know, I was a journeyman. I just wanted to do anything that was available. All I wanted to do was work, and I still, to this day, I'll audition for anything. And there's all the new guys, young guys, and I can hear them thinking, what is he doing here? He does everything. Why would he come, you know, because they want a gig really bad. And I was the same way. Oh, fart. He must have about $80 million. Probably lives in a castle in Spain, and he's here to do a talking armpit. You know, I can do one better than him, I bet. You know, that kind of thinking. It's so funny what goes through your mind, but I've also been very lucky that I get to do so many cool things. You never know if something is going to be a cultural phenomenon when you're in the middle of it. It's like, how could you know? And then one day somebody says, no, do you really know what's going on out there now? With like the crazy mania over a cartoon like Ren and Stimpy. You know, I mean, I was there screaming and yelling, you know.
Will button me, Ren. Happy, happy, joy, joy. My favorite live-action drama. Don't let it start. Don't let it start.
It's like, you've really lost your mind this time. You know, and it was like so intense. And I didn't know there was this mania going on. And I live in the Lower East Side of New York, and I used to take walks with my girlfriend, and there'd be a bar, and there'd be lines around the block, and I'd say, what the hell's going on in there? Well, I had to find out, and they were having Bloody Mary parties. That I understand. And there was this crowd of people, and they were all crowded around the TV. There had to be 200 people just in there. I said, what's going on in here? And he says, oh, this is the Ren and Stimpy party. We're showing Ren and Stimpy, you know. And these kids were going out of their minds, and I was like, I had no idea, you know. And so it was like I never went around like a show-off trying to prove that, hey, I'm part of that, you know. Because I tried it once. I was in Los Angeles at an outdoor cafe, and they had those paper tablecloths with the glass full of crayons. And this little kid was like right over here, and he was drawing Stimpy. See the big blue nose, and I go, he's drawing that character. And I said, should I say anything? I wonder if I should just say something to him. And I go, hey, you know, I do that voice. And he goes, big deal, so do I. You know, and it's like, okay. So I did it for him, and he fell out of the chair and broke his head open. Oh, how I laughed! Now, that never happened to him, but he was just like, he just suddenly was speechless, because nothing like that can make sense to you. How could this be going on? And I used to feel that way about the people that I loved. It was like, what if Mel Blanc's car broke down in my neighborhood in Detroit when I was 10 years old, and can I use the phone? You know, I would have had a heart attack and died. So, you know, this kid lives somehow. He was per cockroach or something. Yeah, no. But yeah, we did Ren and Stimpy in the God, it had to be 91. I remember starting to record it in 1990. And Stimpy was based on Larry from the Three Stooges. If you don't know who that is, you can go back and watch him on YouTube. He's the guy with the frizzy hair. And I actually coached Sean Hayes in the new Three Stooges movie, because the Farrelly brothers called me up and said, we've got to have you come in and just talk to these actors. The first one I coached was Sean Penn. He was going to play Larry. I couldn't believe it. He just won an Oscar, and I'm sitting at a table with him. I go, I know you can do it, man. You know, I was electrified that here's this guy, and he really wanted to know, and he was so fascinated. He was watching every little thing. And the little that Larry did is just so beautifully peripheral, like, be careful, Mo. You know, it's just like nothing. Hey, Mo, I pissed on my shoe. You know, I just thought it was beautiful, just because it was so nothing. And everybody could do Mo and Curly, you know. Hey, Mo, I broke your Pesach dishes. Why, you idiot? This is the meat, this is the dairy. What are you laughing at? Nothing. You know, everybody could do the other business, but nobody gave a damn about Larry. And I said, you know, when I worked on Beanie and Cecil in 1988, that was the first cartoon I did with John Cristoforetti. And he heard me doing that, and he called me up a few years later and said, you know that Larry Fine voice that you were doing? I want you to do that for Stimpy, the cat. But, you know, Larry Fine, the way he really sounded, he just sounded depressed and bummed out and very thick, and, you know, it's like, I think people from Philly have broken plumbing somewhere in it, because their voices are always like, you know. And George Jetson, the guy the guy that did the voice, he was from Philly. He was like, oh, come on, Jamie, honey, the cleaners are 500 miles away. It'll take an extra 5 minutes just to get there. You know, and he had this plugged up nose, and I said, I bet he's from Philly. Don't ask, you know, don't ask, but he was. So I coached Sean Penn, and then he just said, no, I'm not doing this. It wasn't because of me, though. He liked me. I guess he didn't like the script or something. But I thought it was great that they did that. It was a real loving tribute to them, and they influenced my humor, a lot of my peers, Jess Harnell, Rob Paulson, Maurice LaMarche, all these guys. We grew up like not quite understanding why we were fixated on these three guys that would slam each other over the head with saws and hammers. And but you know, it was a school of comedy. It was considered lowbrow. The Marx Brothers were considered very highbrow. And I was a late bloomer on them, you know. They were an acquired taste, like an olive or something. But at the same time that doing Ren and Stimpy stuff, I wound up just jazzing up the voice of Larry for Ren and Stimpy, and you know, and then it became sort of childlike and happy, you know. He'd be like, you know,
My first material possession.
you know, and it was like, he was just so overjoyed to be anywhere. He could be starving to death, and he'd be like,
Joy.
you know, and Ren would go out of his mind because, you know, it's like, don't you understand? You know, they're trying to kill us. And that was the dynamic there. Originally I was supposed to do both voices. I auditioned for both of them. And I was given some material to listen to. And, oh, you gonna give me that? Why? This one smells like... Oh, it is? Unbelievable. This one's gonna sound exactly the same though, huh? Better? If you don't turn it off, you're gonna start feeding back and it's gonna sound like Woodstock with Hendrix pumping the guitar. Okay, he knows what he's doing. Let's hear it for the text, because without them, we're nowhere. Where's that money? I told you I'd get it in. Christ, where was I? I'm old and I forget. Yeah, Stimpy would be just so happy about anything. Ren, the material that they gave me originally was like clips of old movies like Peter Lorre, this menacing little German expressionistic school of acting, and you know, and he was very menacing. I mean, he was creepy. He'd just say something simple and it would creep you out. He'd be like, I'd like a couple of hamburgers, please, and make them raw. You know, it used to, like, what is this? You know, and then he south of the border, so he wound up having sort of, you know, I don't know, Hispanic accent. You know, and then other times he would sound like Burl Ives. This was old folk singer when I was a kid, and he used to sing like, you know, lavender blue, dilly dilly, lavender green. And I used to say, that's the corniest shit I ever heard in my life. But he was a great actor. And he played Big Daddy in this movie, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and he said, stop or I'll shoot. I told you I'd shoot, but you wouldn't believe me. Why wouldn't you believe me? You want to act like a dog, you want to lay down and die like a dog. And that became part of the Ren voice too. And, you know, so John Chrysaluzzi, the guy that produced the show and created a lot of the scripts and characters, he decided he was going to do that. But when he got fired from the show after the first and a half season, they were going to audition everybody in town. I mean, Mark Hamill came to audition for Ren. You wouldn't believe who came. And then they fished out my old audition tape and they said, wasn't he supposed to do it? Because that's how we sold the show. Is John came to New York and he drags me over to MTV, and it was all women running Nickelodeon. And we were in a closet, literally. Like you'd see in an old movie with a mop and a bucket and a mic, like some sort of tape recorder mic taped to the top of the broomstick. And I'm reading the script as both voices, and we blasted through it in about 7 or 8 minutes. I really didn't know what I was doing, but I did it. And he came back out of the meeting and goes, congratulations, what you just did sold the show. I said, great. And then I didn't hear anything, and then I was auditioning again. And, you know, I get in there, but when he got fired, they went back and went to my old audition tape. And, you know, there's a really interesting book out if you really care about, like, the periphery of what was going on during that time. It's called Sick Little Monkeys, and it's the unofficial Ren and Stimpy story, but it tells so much that I saw going on right with my own eyes. You know, this kid who wrote the book interviewed everybody from the show, the producers, directors, Nickelodeon, and you know, it's like it was so insane. It was crazy. You know what went on to keep this show on the air. That's why originally when it premiered, you saw the same 6 episodes over and over for a year, because the deadline couldn't be made to do a new one. You know, it was like embarrassing after a while. Somebody's like, what's the matter with your show, man? I see the same one every week. And is there a naked girl in there? I'm gonna be like Penn Jillette. There is no God! I'm a Barton Teller over here. Penn is a friend of mine, that's why I could get away with mimicking. Yeah, I was a nerd, he was the biggest nerd. You know, it's so funny, people think, you know, that I couldn't have possibly, like, thought the same kind of thing and had the same sort of passion that any nerd of today would have, but believe me, there was a lot going on up in the fantasy world. Thank you. Thanks for that update. Wow. Maybe it's time to go, huh? No. You sure? Because usually people won't tell you, they'll just go, take a chair out from under you. Get it? Yeah, so I wound up doing the Ren voice, and I did all that screaming as Ren, like when he beat the crap out of George Liquor in Man's Best Friend. He's all triumphant, he's like, and people used to go, who did that? And I said, I did it, because I was the only one that was willing to wreck his voice for art, you know, whatever you want to call it. And then we went on for a few more seasons after that, but there was so much hairy stuff that I can't even explain it to you that was going on, but if you check out this book, there's a little bit of it online that you could probably read if you go to Amazon. And it's just really fascinating because I lived this. Every damn day I lived this. But I was happy to do it. I loved doing it. I always had passion. And at the same time, Nickelodeon was asking me if I wanted to audition for another Nicktoon that premiered. It was called Doug. And I'm finding out that people really care about Doug. I don't have any pictures of him. I'm going, maybe I ought to get pictures. Somebody comes over and goes, no Doug? I swear I had no idea. And, you know, these bikers that come up and go, hey man, you were my childhood, man. And I'm like, what did you watch? And he goes, Dog Man. And I'm like, this guy's a full-grown man, and where'd the time go? You know, I woke up one morning and I was 61 years old, and I can't figure it out. But, you know, he was talking about how he loved these characters, and I started thinking about them again, and I said, I gotta get some pictures of this, which I didn't have. So, ironically, Jim Jenkins, the guy that created the show, his daughter came here to say hi to me. And I thought it was adorable. She sang Jim Jenkins' son, and I wasn't born when he did Doug. And how old are you? She's almost like 18 or something. So she was talking to me, and I said, hey, listen, give my best to your dad, will you? And tell him to give me some images from the show, because people really are looking for them now.
You know, and all I did was I guess I played a painfully shy 11-and-a-half-year-old, and this is my dog Pork Chop.
You know, and the bully Roger Klotz. You know, he's based on he's an amalgam of every asshole I ever encountered in school. You know, like, what are you doing? You know, he's always like this. He was pointy. His nose was pointy. His hair was pointy. His shoes were pointy. He was and it sang to me. It seemed like I know real well who this is. And it's,
what are you doing, funny? I saw you looking at Patty Mayonnaise. What, do you like her or something?
And, you know, everybody was, like, little kids loved it, and I never thought they'd grow up. I just don't think like that. And then one day they're all adults, and they go, what happened to that? So I promise, if you ever see me again, I'll have some. Yeah, it was fun to do. And then they brought it on Disney, and Disney was going crazy because Nickelodeon was scooping up all the children's viewership, and they're like, we're Disney! What the hell's going on? We're the kids! We're the kids! You know how it's not Disneyland over there with the desks and the decisions and, you know, and the money go around. And they were freaking out because they were like, we're supposed to be this. So what they did was they Spectrum analyzed every Nickelodeon show, every Nickelodeon cartoon, and they were going to try to replicate it, you know, like an inch at a time, just to see if they could get some of that magic going. And they tried, you know, some of the stuff I don't remember seeing much of Pepper Ann or any of that, but I guess it has its place. I mean, I'm not like, you know, disqualifying of anything that wasn't something I did. I appreciated lots of stuff, believe me. But, so they wanted to, they just decided to buy Doug. Just buy it from Nickelodeon. So they did. And they were expecting me to do like 15 voices per show, and I had to fly from California, where I'd moved. I did live in New York when I did the original one. You know, like you have to fly in every week and do this, and we want you to do like 20 voices per show, and we're gonna pay you like a monkey at a circus. And I just wish them nothing but the best. You know, like you can be so mad that it comes out like, I wish you all the best. And it really means it. I mean, they think about it later and go, boy, he was telling us that. You know, it's like, it's so easy to do and there's more grace to be gained by doing it that way. Because then they go, maybe it was our fault, our own greedy fault. You know, why didn't you get him? You know, it's like they paid more for toilet paper for Disney Studios than they would for voice actors. You know, I happen to know. It's like, that's the way it was. But I couldn't be part of it, and I just wish them luck. And they wouldn't stop bugging me. They were slipping deal memos under the door and sending faxes, and I said, no, I wish you luck. You know, I really, I'm moving on. And so they did, and I only saw a couple of episodes, but I was like, no, don't fuck it up like that. You know, I saw so many missed opportunities, like what I would have done with the character, and someone else was doing it, and I couldn't watch it anymore because I said, that was the perfect opportunity to do this or that. I'm hypercritical of stuff that I did and someone else trying to do it. Just like the people that did stuff I was trying to do. You know, I met Don Messick once. He was the voice of Boo Boo Bear in the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. He was Ranger Smith. Hello, Ranger Smith speaking. What? There's a bear in your bathtub? You know, and he was Boo Boo too.
The Ranger isn't gonna like this, Yogi.
Yeah, so I get to meet him, and I did Astro. No, I didn't do Astro. He did the voice of Astro, and he was on the phone. I worked at a radio station. And I came up and I started talking like Elroy Jetson, and you know,
Hey, Astro, where's my pop?
you know, it was almost like Doug. And he goes, that's too good. And he was going to tell Dawes Butler, you know, going to tell Dawes, who did the voice. I just think it's funny when that stuff happens. But, you know, you have to be a little protective of stuff because if someone's ripping you off, it's like, oh God, you know, I've heard so many things. And then they were going to fire us all at one time because they were, you know, we were asking for too much money or something on Futurama. Yeah, it's a joke, but they went to the casting people and they started going to every comedy club in the country looking for the doofus who could do, you know, Bender or, you know, in his act or whatever, and they were like seriously thinking about getting them. They were gonna just beat us over the head until we caved, but you know what? You'd be stealing the heart of the show if you took anything away from what it is. I know a lot of people don't like different writing styles, but the characters are so believable. I mean, Matt Groening himself says, no, The Simpsons is a cartoon. To me, Futurama is real. He says that. That's the way he thinks of it. It's real to him. So, what? 2 bags of fries. Okay. You know what I did one time? I go up to the window and everybody does this joke about and it's like, I don't do that joke. It was really true. I go up and I said, and they're like, and I said, oh, I can get a couple bags of fries and a hamburger. When I ate meat, I'm a vegan now. Hey, how are you? Oh, are you? Do you want me to leave? No, I'll stay and watch you. Okay. No, I'm sorry, but I will be doing one tomorrow, and I will have armed guards there. Thank you so much, though, for coming.